I mean, it was rumoured quite a long while ago, and then it sort of rolled on and rolled on. And like you say, when you compare the player Paqueta, Sunderland, and we're going to Chelsea, and we're actually not got any excuses. We've got the team that Potter wants. I know it's difficult, but it frustrates me, mate, because I already feel we're not going to have the team that we want. Money, then they'll do it, as opposed to make the best decision for the club that costs
Mm.
money, if you like. So there's no benefit to them moving, spending X amount of money and moving.
Have you?
I
Have you?
must admit, yeah, I've thrown away my Kudos West Ham shirt. I've forgotten all about him. And when it comes to Tottenham, when we played him early on, I hope he gets the reception he deserves, which will be a feisty one.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you're watching around the world. This is One Way Football 101 Fan Talk. Today, I am joined here with the one and only big West Ham fan, Izzy. What's going on, Izzy? How you doing, mate?
Irons,
Do
mate.
you Irons? Do you
Joe,
Irons?
you Irons. Thanks for having me back, mate. It's good to see you. I hope you're well.
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you very much, mate.
Good, mate.
Obviously, pre-season's just kicked off, which is good to see
Yep.
some proper football. I'm not slating that there is no there's no football through the summertime. The Lionesses did well. They brought back to back, European. Yeah, you've got to give them a hand, but it's not our football that we thrive off of. Do you know what I mean?
To be fair, I haven't watched a lot of it. I did see some of the games. I think I was out one of the nights, and as I was coming home, it was on the. I think it was Sweden. I can't remember what game that was, whether that was the quarters or the semis. So the
Yeah.
penalties were going on then, and I saw a bit of it then. And of course, yeah, they won. I mean, great achievement, but I mean, it's just going to be compared to the men like trying to win something now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I did. It's another thing for another like video that you can get into. You go on for hours about it, but I
Yeah.
don't see the point in some of these women now, like saying, "Oh, look, if you've got a job to do, ask the women." You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I,
they got the
there's
bragging
certain
rights
jobs
now.
that I would probably tell my missus to do, and she'd probably tell me to f off. But
Yeah,
um,
they got the bragging rights now, so we
yeah, well,
are.
they
Yeah,
have, haven't
we've
they?
got to
So
try and do something on the
that's
international
it.
stage, but
It's just
I
like I
don't
say,
know if we will.
it's another topic we can have another video because
Yeah, yeah,
you know as well. Trying to challenge the men to do it is a totally different aspect, and it's a totally different competition. With
yeah,
pace, the technical thing, and beside it. So, but look, we're here to talk about West Ham, your beloved
yeah,
club. Um,
yes,
any moves that you've been looking at that are looking quite good? I mean, just to see that Lucas Paqueta, they want a valuation probably of about 60 million to Flamengo to sell him to. I know the charges and everything following a 2 year FA investigations just ended as well. So
yeah,
he's been
and come
cleared of
out
that.
that yeah, been cleared of it. So I mean, I think it's another frustrating one for me. I think the player is worth about 50 mil, but I have heard reports of a lower fee maybe going somewhere else. But also, I even heard Tottenham were interested in him today. Now I don't know if that's rubbish, but I heard that they were interested in him. Again, never in a million years would any fan entertain him going to Tottenham
Oh, he's
um,
a good player though, isn't he?
when we lost
I
Kudus.
remember when
But
he first came to West Ham. Before that, Arsenal and Newcastle were looking at him.
yeah, exactly. I think there's no doubt in his pedigree and stuff, and I would imagine that his kind of this situation that's hung over his head has probably affected his performances because he hasn't been good. And I wonder what a season now with him, without all of that like going on in the background, can he actually, thrive and make a bit of a sort of statement this season for the sort of caliber of player he is? Because yeah, he frustrates me to be fair. I know a lot of West Ham fans like him. And again, I do give him some leeway because of all what's been going on behind the scenes. But you just never know with a club. I mean, my understanding is that now he's got it clear, he should be playing for us, focus, and we
Yeah,
need him really because we don't have
yeah,
any creative sort of person in the middle. But
yeah, of
then I'm
course,
hearing
yeah.
Tottenham, then I'm hearing 30 mil here, 50 mil there, and it's like you just don't know with us. But we kind of need to keep him, and I think yeah, with a bit of luck, he has a good season if he stays. But you just don't know, mate. To be fair with us.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Do you know when like
Mm.
talking about him now with these investigations and like that is it seems to me that the FA seem to look into players more than they do actually the clubs themselves now these days.
Yeah,
they seem to like resolve these situations quicker than they do the actual clubs, which it kind of is kind of annoying, really, because if it's the club's fault, then you need to be like pursuing the club rather than the players. But when it is the player, they seem to get it done like that, and it's done and dusted. But this has been
Well,
going on for 2 years, though, isn't it?
well, I mean, it was rumored quite a long while ago, and then it sort of rolled on and rolled on. And like you say, when you compare the player Paqueta and the club West Ham to Man City and their potential breaches, I know they're probably incomparable, but still investigations and stuff like that. Well, that's still going on.
Yeah,
And I think it's a little bit different from a player to a club, in terms of like the club, if they're being sort of, investigated for whatever, then I guess they've got teams behind the scenes to help with things like that. But the focus is just on one player. Is he a cheater or whatever he's been accused of doing? The good news is he's been found, cleared of all those charges. But yeah, what's it done for West Ham as well? Is it like devalued the player? He was, sort of looking to maybe be an interest for Man City, and then when that appeared, like they lost all interest in him. And again,
yeah.
how has that affected West Ham? We've lost the potential, big money, maybe sell, maybe like 60 odd mil or whatever it was at the time. And, now people were saying after value and stuff. But yeah, I don't know, mate. As I say, I think it's a difficult one because his performances haven't really lived up to the standard of player he is. But it's understandable as well.
So you would be happy with like 60 million if someone came in and put 60 million on the table, then?
Well, see, the difficulty is you sell him if you get someone in of a similar ilk. Can we do that? I don't even know. You've got Embuemo, as we spoke about last time. He's gone for or going for 65 odd. That seems Kudos went 54.5. I think around that mark is a true value for him, but there's no point in West Ham kind of selling him because we wouldn't get a player. We were linked with Vieira. I heard today, your guy Fabio Vieira, is it?
Vieira,
Arsenal
yeah,
guy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, well, yeah, with all due respect, the different players and stuff like that. Paqueta's been in our team a lot. I don't think he's been in Arsenal's team a lot, Vieira. But the point being is that you can't afford to let a player like that go because can you get in someone and identify someone of a similar ilk? And I think a club like us, no, especially when we're linked to Callum Wilson, especially when we're linked to
Yeah.
Vieira of your club and stuff like that. So in an ideal world, I would say, yeah, no club, no players bigger than the club and that. But I just think with all the stuff behind him, yeah, we've got to try and keep him, and we should, yeah, we're West Ham, and we should be keeping these types of players.
Yeah, you don't really want to be getting rid of a lot of players because it could be looking peak for you at the end of the season. Like, you want to try and bring the depth in rather than get rid of all these players that are potentially some of your good players. I know you had a game. Bowen scored a goal, didn't he? Was it against
We had the
United? It
we had the
was.
friendly against United, yeah, but I mean, I didn't see it, but the midfield, I think we had a midfield of James Ward-Prowse, Souček, and the guy Rodriguez. Now that
Rodriguez.
central midfield
Yeah.
cannot be starting games with that. It's terrible. Now, all right, individually, I love Souček. I think a lot of the fans love Souček. I think he was kind of like a ball carrying midfielder for that game. But you've got Ward Prowse, just to, with all due respect to Mark
Yeah.
Noble, Mark II, just recycles the ball. You've got no forward running, no creativity. And that is the area we need to sort of focus on, in my opinion. But, you say about these signings and, I hear we're in for a goalie. Disappointing. It's a position we want to maybe change and upgrade or whatever, and have the depth with
Yeah.
Fabianski going. But it's not like the main position we need. We need to figure out the midfield, the attack, and all that stuff. So when we've bought, the right back Kyle Walker-Peters, again,
Yeah.
good squad buy, but it's not really getting the fans like excited.
Yeah.
Good, we've covered the right back position because Sufal has left, and we got a Geoff on the left.
Yeah.
But again, it's to me, mate. We've got other areas that need immediate kind of attention. And again, we've got what 2 weeks till the season starts again, and,
Yeah. Well,
and we're in that
yes. Yeah.
position. We're in that position where it always feels like we're trying to play catch up. And I know a lot of people sort of say, "Oh, like the transfer window's still open as the season starts. But I don't like the mentality of kind of not being prepared for the season and
Mm.
players have got to get up to speed. I'd love us to start a season when we're all fit and we're in to go. We've got all the targets we wanted, and we're going to Sunderland and we're going to Chelsea, and we're actually not got any excuses. We've got the team that Potter wants. I know it's difficult, but it frustrates me, mate, because I already feel we're not going to have the team that we want for these early games while the transfer
Yeah,
window's
of
sort of
course.
open.
Yeah. Like even before that, did have an opening preseason friendly on the 19th of July against Grasshopper Club Zurich, which you won 3-1.
Yeah.
And Lucas Paquetá did seal the win for you. So I mean, that's another thing. Like this is what I mean is Callum Marshall scored a double, but it's when you're looking at these players that are leaving or potentially going to leave, these are your main um, top scorers. You know what I mean? That are going to be like scoring the goals. I know there's
I
like a
think
loan move, maybe potentially to get in Jack Grealish, which wouldn't be a bad signing, even though Everton are in at front of the race for this deal to be sealed. But Callum Wilson, like you mentioned before, maybe another one that's going to be coming in, possibly.
again, it's another player that doesn't fill you with anything. Don't get me wrong; he's been a great player in the Premier League season, but ideally we should have got him at Bournemouth. He's an injury-prone player, to be fair. A team like Newcastle wouldn't just get rid of their players for no reason. And obviously, anyone that has football knowledge will know with West Ham as well, with the issues we've had with strikers, we're asking for trouble. Really, I know I think there's a pay-as-you-play kind of contract element to it, and I
Yeah.
don't think it's been a done deal yet. But I really think the fans are a bit like, what are we doing here? It feels a little bit like a Charlie
So
Austin
what you're
Mark
saying
II.
is that you don't feel like there's much hope going into the next season unless you start making some signings quickly.
I think it's demoralising, to be fair. Like as a West Ham fan, you, I just don't see any excitement in these players. Now, don't get me wrong, you've got to fulfil the positions, you've got to get the depth in, But
Mm.
who, again, the central midfield, the attack through the middle, like we've got to get rid of. Gone. I think Rodriguez is going to go, and his wages are quite high, so he's gone. Suchek, I think there's talk about him maybe going.
Yeah,
We spoke about Harvey Elliott in terms of a player coming in, but I haven't heard anything more on that at all.
yeah,
And these, I don't feel too excited. All right, we've got the defence sorted, and Potter. Last season we were leaking so many goals. I feel he's addressing that area, which is good. But I'm
mhm.
concerned about the going forward. It's all very well and good stopping goals going in, but where's the goals coming from?
And
Our threat
eventually,
is
do you think it's going to just lead up to maybe like a relegation battle next season
well,
if this doesn't?
yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a realist, or probably and a pessimistic person as well. But being a West Ham fan, I guess you've got to be a little bit. But
Mm,
I would say the sort of bottom six or so teams, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, like 14th or whatever. Why? Because I just think, the other teams have gone above us, like I said last time, with your Villas and Newcastles. Brighton have a great model of just seemingly getting these players in that do a great job for them, this recycling of players and earning profit on them. But the teams are just so tough. And as I say, if we're getting play like even Carl Walker Peters, again, someone we wanted some years back. Fair enough, we're
yeah.
getting him now, but he's not really going to replace Wan-Bissaka. He's another squad player. So we've got to improve the first 11 whilst obviously having the depth because Moyes, didn't really play with the depth. He liked his 11 or 13
Mm.
players and would just make a couple of changes. So yeah, I got to be honest. I haven't seen anything to
So
make
what
me
is
think.
it that Graham Potter needs to do here? Because there was a time where we were thinking that Graham Potter is one of these managers that is probably what like potentially a lot of people are calling him out to be England manager at one point. And then
Well, I thought,
is it
yeah.
just the club itself that's not helping the managers progress when they get this job?
Well, I mean that is a good question because obviously you've got the transfer the things that happen in the background. You've got the chairman's involved with transfers. We had Steadon last time involved with transfers. I don't quite know what the relationship is in terms of identifying a player, then like who actually wants them. There's the manager, there's the chairman, and I think it's a bit of both. And that obviously will cause imbalance if you're a manager and you've got a team of 11 you want to play with. Then and you've got someone buying someone else to fit in. We had it before, with other managers in the past. But I think that with Potter, I think he's a good manager. I think at Brighton he did brilliantly. At Chelsea, I'd argue they let him go too soon, but obviously they're
Yeah, they
thriving
did.
now.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, Potter's got, he had his time last season with West Ham to, try and stop the goals and, put a bit of a stamp on it. But, there was no expectations from him as a manager. I don't think it was just to keep us up, really.
Keep
But
you
I
up.
didn't
Yeah.
see a bounce. I didn't see a bounce from us. And also for this season, like, he starts fresh as far as I'm concerned. I'll judge him on game 1 and 2 and so on. But I just haven't seen anything exciting, is what
Mm.
I feel, in terms of our people we've been linked with the exception of Harvey Elliott, as I say. But like Callum Wilson, a crock. We've got, again, Kyle Walker-Peters, just squad depth. Players that maybe, and how many attackers have we gone through, and we don't want to be in a position where we're putting, pieces into the wrong shaped holes. Like we've got Bowen that we've played up front before, then we suffer on the right if we try and
Yeah.
move him around. So I did say we had Falkirk and Somerville were injuries last year that you hope would improve the team, and I'm sure they will if they get in. But yeah, I think I've segued from your question, but originally Potter will
Yeah.
get time from me, and I think the fans are not expecting miracles. Mid-table, attractive football, and that's that. Like we saw last season with Southampton, we're
Is
sitting
this
back
the
behind the ball.
expectation of a fan of West Ham these days? Is just like, oh, we're going to go into next season and it's going to be like mid-table. Because when does it ever come to an end where you go, we need to start fighting for this and potentially being like a big club? Because all
Yeah,
right, yeah, as a fan base and as a club itself, you've got history and you are the club that you are, but it's hard to establish yourself in that top big club era or statement when you're just keep getting to that standards of mid 15th, trying to stay up. And it comes to a point the fans must just get absolutely frustrated with it comes to the end of the season.
well, it's the inconsistency, and it's so difficult. I think it's difficult in the Premier League anyway. Especially for various reasons, managers, etc., etc. West Ham have always been a club that have, not changed managers so quickly. But in the modern age, we're kind of catching up the numbers now, and I just think it's difficult. You've gone from Moyes, as I say, who did great for us. We won the cup, and as soon as you change a manager like that, who, let's be fair, didn't really have a basis for a manager to come in with, i.e., the squad. It wasn't a big squad; it was a
Yeah,
small squad. I feel you've already got a tough job trying to bring in. You've got to try and improve the quality of that as well as the volume of that. And obviously Lopetegui then went, and now we've got another new manager. So that's already changed from the Moyes era again. And I just think it's so hard. So I'm all for sticking with the manager as much as
yeah.
possible, but also, yeah, you're right, it's demoralising. But I think you've got to be somewhat realistic. And as I say, I think we can
Like
get
we
back
say,
up
you do have
there.
to give these managers time. Great, like you said, he never had a chance at really Chelsea, did he? It kind of it wasn't enough time. You really
But
do
I
have
mean,
to give these managers more time than just like half a season. That's what the reality is these days. Is that some managers don't even get half a season. They get to December to see what they do, and they get thrown away, don't they? It's ludicrous.
it's a very cutthroat. I mean, God, I mean, and when you think about it, you get to Christmas, whoever's 20th, 19th, 18th, someone's got to be there. You'll be looking at the managers of those clubs, whoever the teams are, going, well, not doing good enough, got to go. Try and get
Yeah.
that bounce and get back up the table. But it's just not as easy as that. And I just think with Potter,
But as a
he
club
hasn't
like
really
West
impressed
Ham, they
me.
probably have to keep him, don't they? They've really got no other choice than to keep him.
Well, because you're kind of just doing the same thing over and over again. I mean, even if you had someone in mind to come in, well, then you might not fancy a certain player like Paqueta, then
Mm.
want to change the style. Potter, I think, wants to do kind of three centre backs and the wing backs with Wan-Bissaka and Geoff.
Yeah,
So that he's kind of got the makings of an identity of what he wants to do. I can see
yeah,
personally. I think every other fan can see that, but it's just the personnel in that role. I'd argue Wan-Bissaka was so good last season because, to be fair, he was one of our creative outlets, and he's the kind of wing back. No
yeah.
one else was apart from Bowen, of course. But as I say, I just feel, where's the creativity? We need power, strength, creativity, forward thinking, forward runs, mobility, pace. And I feel the team don't have that, barring a couple of players. Souček is slow, but obviously he's a cult hero.
Yeah.
And it's fine if you've got one player like that, but you think of the you think of the Man United midfield. Beckham who could pass, Giggs who could dribble, Keane who was robust. You need a mixture of these attributes, and I think
Oh
we're
yeah,
we're
of
sorely
course.
lacking. Mm.
Is as the fans like have they always stood by their ownership, or has there always been like a bit of a
Oh,
tension between them?
I don't think so. No, I think the ownership is what you got to think of is we moved from Upton Park to
Yeah,
this stadium. I think it was Champions League football we were promised. The stadium, you know, it still has its difficulty. I think fans will be unhappy with the atmosphere. Certain games, of course, the fans have got to generate it, but then the team also have got to give the fans something to,
yeah, of
kind of
course,
cheer
yeah,
about. But then you've got, with the bowling, we were on top of the pitch with the London Stadium as the people always make the joke about the binoculars. I don't think it's that bad, but you've got the gap between the fans and the pitch, the
I know
intimidation.
Arsenal have that kind of gap as well, but I don't think it's as big
Yeah,
because you still got the running track, haven't you, going round? I think.
I think it's got the carpet over that now, like the kind of
Yeah,
claret
I don't know
carpet.
why
But
they just don't extend it and just bring more seats forward. Do you know what I mean? Or just like bring, put more
this,
seats in and positions, bring it closer to the pitch.
and I think the fans view the ownership as money orientated in a sense that if they can do something that will generate money, then they'll do it, as opposed to make the best decision for the club that costs
Mm,
money, if you like. So there's no benefit to them spending X amount of money and moving the fans closer, because the stadium's what, 60 odd thousand. They've extended it a couple of times, the capacity, and I just don't think it's on their kind of considerations to do. So the fans are upset with that, and the ownership in terms of a deal like Wilson, and players' agents that are linked with the chairman,
yeah, yeah,
make you question. Well, we're going for him because of the relationship with the agent, and I don't know, percentages that go on top of a sale.
yeah,
I don't know the ins and outs of it all, but this is what grieves the fans. And of course, yeah, yeah, I'll make them right. To be fair, you want a chairman that's going to put. You don't want a chairman that's just going to throw money at the club willy nilly, of course, but do right by the fans and show that they're supporters and show that they care about the match day experience. And I don't know, mate. As I say, I just feel a lot of fans are aggrieved by leaving there, and the promises that were made have not materialised in a lot of ways.
yeah, yeah. It's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Like ownerships with the club and fan bases anyway in general never really have a good relationship unless you've brought something to the table like strongly, being an Arsenal fan, like I'm happy with the transfers, but sometimes all right, it's good to see that, but you've got to bring back the cherry on top of the cake as well with that stuff. Because
I think if
that's why I got hold of you for because there was the news thing saying about the owners outlining transfer plan this week of exciting new pledge. Now, what does that really mean in your eyes? Do you know what I mean? Is that just a thing to try and get you hyped up? Is that
well,
social
well,
media?
I saw this, and I did hear Colton Cole talk about to be kind of they're working on things behind the scenes that the fans would be happy but can't reveal anything. Okay, all right. Well, obviously Colton Cole's a West Ham fan, and I take his word over a lot of other people's. But yeah, until it happens and they're in the shirt and they've done all the promos, I can't allow myself to get too excited. But that's the talk. I think we've got a lot of targets that we're going for, and it's just a question of which ones get over the line and which ones don't. But
Don't.
mate,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't allow myself to be too hyped up because, as I
I-
say, when you're linked with Callum Wilson, what another injury-prone striker we
Mm.
don't need. We've had an abundance of them over the years.
This day and
We
age,
don't need
to
any more.
attract like big player names, it is that European stature in it that you kind of need. Even if you're in the Conference League, at least you're going into Europe. That's what players want. They want that move where they can travel to other places rather than just playing England constantly.
Yeah.
Um, and it because
So
it uplifts their status as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I can understand that. You know, West Ham are probably not the most appealing club when you look at the Premier League teams because of all the ones that are in Europe. We're not. I get that, but we also shouldn't do ourselves a disservice by thinking we can't maybe get some players. You know, like I said, with the
Yeah,
Vieira move, with all again due respect, I just think that makes no sense at all. You know, he
right.
doesn't fit the criteria of a player we want, and I'd argue that you guys as fans would probably be thinking, yeah, nice. I mean, I don't think
Yeah,
Vieira fits into your first team plans next season, and if you
yeah,
can nick
yeah,
20 mil for him, I don't know how much you bought him for, but you're probably thinking result. But from what I've seen of him, lightweight, so he's not going to work in. If he isn't working in the Premier League for Arsenal, he's not going to work in the Premier League for us, and we shouldn't
yeah.
just because he played
But
for
sometimes
Arsenal.
these players do need that kind of boost. So maybe it might be a different change for him, because he was a bit of a when he was at Arsenal, he was kind of that forgotten player. So he was kind of pushed to the side. I remember him being brought in, and then he went on loan, then he came back, and he was just sat there, and it just got. Sometimes when he came on, I was, oh bloody hell, we've still got Vieira. He's that forgotten player. Maybe the move to West Ham is what he needs to become a better player because then he'll be like, no, no, I'm going to show you now. I'll put 110% in. Um,
But for me personally, it's more the stature of the player that I've got the problem with. I don't think he's cut out for the Premier League. Now he
yeah,
may be good in a less physical league,
we had
and
this
then I
with Danny
question.
Ceballos as well in Arsenal. We had him on loan twice from Madrid, and we had to send him back because he was just no good.
Yeah, and I think if you're in the pre-season like you are now, or even before you weren't playing for Arsenal, and you realise the league's a bit tough, then surely your aim is to strengthen and all that. I
Yeah,
haven't really seen it, so for me, it's just it don't make any sense to get him. But yeah, I get what you mean. But I think if you're playing him because he plays centre, right? He's really a
yeah,
centre
yeah.
midfielder.
He's a midfielder.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for me,
yeah,
you've got to have a bit more about you than what his kind of stature is.
yeah. Because they were potentially looking on at a swap deal as well with a 17 million related swap deal. I don't know what I'm trying to find what player it's for from
Uh,
um
what that's
from
a West
West
Ham.
Ham.
What Arsenal want a West Ham player
Yeah,
in
I was just
exchange.
having a look here where who it is, but
I will give you
they
James
want to buy him
Ward-Prowse.
outright. Huh?
We'll swap James Ward-Prowse for him.
You're all right, mate. No, we'll leave that one. We'll just take the money.
Yeah,
Yeah, but potentially if it isn't a swap deal, whatever they're looking at, it's 35 million, which I think that's a bit too steep for Vieira. He's not even hardly touched the ball. Can't be. I mean, as an Arsenal fan, you can't be doing that. I mean, it's good if we did do that and we get the money for it, but if West Ham do that, that's madness. That's
this is what I mean. I mean, I'm not an accountant or any financial type guy, but I know everyone has their valuation of players, but 35 mil is ridiculous. But again, it's a lot of it is hearsay, and I just hope he's not the kind of player we're going after because, as I say, we need more in that middle, and he's not it. To be fair,
yeah, of course, yeah. Have you got any other friendlies coming up before the
I think we've
season
got
starts?
Everton tomorrow. I think
You have,
Everton
yeah, I did
tomorrow.
see that actually. Sorry, you do have
Yeah.
Everton tomorrow, which is quite a good game because I watched the Arsenal United Newcastle game. We've got on
Ah.
the 31st against Spurs as well in Hong Kong, which is
Oh.
that's never a friendly for us.
No.
But you know, um, it's good to play Premier League teams before you start the season because it gives you a bit of a feel of the Premier League as well, and you can kind of judge your players going into the new season. So
I
yeah,
totally agree. Yeah.
have you got any players that you would like to see that do well in that game or against Everton?
I'd, I'd like to see some of the youth get a chance. I think Potts
Yeah,
came on in the last game, and I think it was like 20 odd minutes. Again, I didn't see it, but I sort of heard about the reports on it. And again, you never know with the youth, and this is a perfect
mm.
opportunity to give some of them youth players a chance, see how they cope with. Again, especially with a Premier League team, I know they're going to be fitness issues with
West Ham are
the
never
teams
that team
themselves.
to bring out like exciting academy players, are they?
Well,
You
I mean,
never really see it that much.
we had the history of it. If you think of like the 90s or the noughties with
Well,
Rio and
yeah, yeah,
Lampard and
actually, yeah, you
Carrick and
did,
all
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but we are synonymous with the
In the
academy.
modern
And again,
era, it's like it's not really to be seen,
yeah,
is it?
in recent times, no. But again, I think it's so difficult. You had the Man U bring their youth players through, and they ended up winning the league. We did,
Yeah,
and we unfortunately ended up selling them one by one.
one by
But
one. Yeah,
arguably, we're the next best kind of crop of youngsters in the country. But with the modern day, I think it's hard to bring youth players through. Rice. I know again we had him sort of at Chelsea, but he came through West Ham and established himself as a player. But yeah,
yeah,
apart from him, I can't really think of too many others for West Ham that could do that. But as I say, I think you've got to give these players a chance. I'd like to see more of Potts. I think Irving as well, who'd had a
yeah.
little bit of a look in last season, but again, would like to. You never know. One of them players could be the answer we're looking for. We don't need to fill in that central midfield with all marquee signings. Maybe
Mm,
one big signing like an Elliott, and maybe a UFO could, kind of balance that middle of the park with a bit of energy and a bit of
yeah.
fearlessness. So I'd
Yeah,
like to
because
see
then
some youth
that's your
players.
final game, isn't it? Pre-season, and it's to the Premier League, or is it? Or have you got? Oh no, sorry, I do apologise. You've got Bournemouth after that as well.
So we're
Um,
keeping it Premier League orientated.
yeah,
Um,
but then you play Lille, so that's quite a good one. Lille against Lille. And then
yeah.
it's
So
then it's obviously then you play Sunderland your first game. Sorry.
yeah, which again, like we said last time, was just going to be not easy. They're going to be well up for
Yeah,
it. But this is the trouble as well. Like I say, we've got these pre-season games. Oh, wait till we get the transfers in, like you said a bit earlier, and it's like, well, the pre-seasons are going, and what are
yeah,
we, what are we doing, sort of thing. We need to
yeah. Of
get them
course.
embedded in the team now, sharpish.
No, that's good. Well, look, listen, Izzy, it's great to have you on the show. We are running out of
Ah,
time.
no worries,
But
mate.
look, have you got over kudos now? Have
I
you?
must admit, yeah, I've thrown away my Kudos West Ham shirt. I've forgotten all about him. And when it comes to Tottenham, when we played him early on, I hope he gets the reception he deserves, which will be a feisty one.
Well, this is it. You'll be there in the front row booing him.
I would like to be, yeah, anything to put him off, mate. Because as I say, I think there is a player in there, and I think for Tottenham he could do well under Frank. But let's
Yeah,
hope not.
yeah, of course. That's it, mate. That's it. Well, Izzy, mate, thank you for coming on the show, mate. It's always a
Oh,
pleasure to
thanks for
have you
having
on
me
here.
again, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you
We'll
very
get you on
much.
again once the season starts. We'll have you a guest on Match Week Madness as well with the lads.
Love
We
that.
can have a chat about West Ham with the lads as well, and get your predictions as well in as well. So that's every week we're gonna have a different guest on there on Match Week Madness. But on One Way Football's one-on-one fan talk, it's great to have you on here and have your
Thanks,
thoughts
mate.
about West Ham. And let's hope we have a good start to the season. Anyway.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. All right, then. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe this video if you haven't already. And we shall see you very shortly for more updates and content on One Way Football. Thank you very much, Izzy. Take care, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care. All the
See you
best. Bye.
later. Bye bye.